Broadcasting from the beautiful Hill Country in Texas, this is OneRadioNetwork.com.
Well, very pleasant good morning to you. Hi there, this is Patrick Timpone, as we're live here from the beautiful Texas Hill Country, about an hour outside of Austin, where they're pretty woke there, but we're awake here in Dripping Springs, Texas. Good to have you. Another week of some good shows for you. You're going to meet Flat Earth Dave Wise. He hasn't been on for a while, and he'll be here in just a second. He's in the green room, but he's looking pretty good. And tomorrow, a carnivore doctor, Dr. Lisa Wiedemann. We've been talking quite a bit about carnivore stuff. And also the Beagleson boys. They are the two sons of Harvey Beagleson, and they do some incredible things looking at the blood and actually predicting things that can happen to you by the shape of the blood. Fascinating stuff. Harvey went on to the great beyond, but his son is taking over his work. It'll be fun to connect up with them. Have you heard of Sean Stone, the son of Oliver Stone? Sean has his own gig going. He's doing a lot of really cool things, doing some producing, but doing his own podcast and into all sorts of cool things, if you know what I mean, more out-of-the-box thinking. He'll be here on Wednesday. And then Martin Armstrong, one of the great financial gurus ever. Martin Armstrong has a Socrates program that it's a kind of an AI for predicting what's going to go on in the financial world. So he's going to be here on Wednesday. So we have a full week. Let's get to it. If you'd like to be on the show, 888-663-6386. For those of you who have been on the face plant, kind of throwing tomatoes and things at me for talking about the Earth not being spinning around the sun, here's a good chance for you to talk to Dave Wise, who's been studying this stuff for a long time. Ask him the question and actually present your theory on why he is wrong, saying that the Earth is not spinning around the sun. But Dave Wise, good morning. Nice to have you here. Oops, wait a minute. I don't have your sound. No sound.
Always my fault. I like talking on mute.
That's all right.
My opening statement is always the best and most fascinating, and I like doing it on mute, and then I forget what I said. So,
yeah. Good morning, Dave.
Thanks for having me back again. Yeah. This is an amazing topic, and for any listeners that do want to call in and come up with why I'm wrong, if you can prove the globe with one proof, you win 3 Bitcoins from me.
Wait. If they can prove the globe with one proof.
If they can give me one proof of the globe, just one, that proves we live on a globe, they win 3 Bitcoins.
Dave, that's like, what is it?
60 grand. 60 grand.
60,000?
Yeah.
David Wise. Now, well, we have people on my faceplant page that they send me real pictures of Earth surrounded by space. So that's not proof.
Oh boy. There's no real NASA admits they don't have any pictures of Earth. But, if you think that you have a picture of Earth, let's see it, and then we'll talk about it. And I'm not just going to go, it's fake. I'm going to show you why it's fake.
Really?
Yeah.
So I wonder if I can pick something off of the face plant, because there's one fellow on there that he really is on there a lot, and he sent 4 pictures, and one is the blue marble. Now, we know that the fellow who created the blue marble thing, he's actually admitted on camera, right, on tape, that he created the blue marble shot. But all the other ones are as well, correct? They're all...
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. They admit, he says he made it in Photoshop because it has to be. But when you look at all of the pictures from NASA, from all the different space agencies, we can get into that. None of them match. None of them make sense in reality. They're all just complete and total garbage. I mean, like now I know you have a lot of radio listeners. So there's, this is a very visual conversation, but I'll try to describe it. But recently there was a picture from NASA showing the Earth from the space station. And when you compare it to another shot of the Earth, the things don't match. I mean, you can see that they're just using a fisheye lens, if not completely Photoshop. So I think this is the Arabian Peninsula. I'm not sure what this area is. I think that might be what it's called. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. but it's showing it where it's covering, most of the ball. And then you look at it, it's only covering a little tiny portion of the ball. This just proves right now, this doesn't prove that the Earth isn't a globe. It proves that these two images aren't real. Okay. How many images of something not being real do you need before you can say, okay, maybe the whole thing isn't real? Right? I can show you 50 pictures of houses that aren't mine. And that doesn't mean that I don't have a house. But unless I could show you a picture of my house and show you that it's my house, that's the kind of the evidence that you need. So all the pictures that they show us are fake.
So can you take any photograph with the right equipment and software, Dave Wise, and prove that it's been on a computer and not an actual photo?
Well, there is a thing called photo forensics where you can take a photo and put it in, and then it'll analyze it. It'll tell you when it's made, just like the James Webb telescope. The pictures that they're showing us. I did a thing where I actually created them in an app called Canva, and I think mine looks better than theirs. But we take their photo and put it in photo forensics, and it shows that it was actually made in Photoshop. It shows us the dates that it was made, that it took 5 days to make it. I made mine in 12 minutes. The typical NASA take 5 days to make something that takes 12 minutes. So either way, it's fake. But,
you would think, though, Dave, with the technology that they have access to, with the $26 billion a year budget, NASA, thank you, that they could create a computer image where you couldn't do the forensics and prove that it's not a computer.
That's a great point. And I bobble back and forth on why. So one thing is they're just that stupid. They could be, or it could be, you know what? They think we're that stupid and they're just laughing at us. I kind of have this, not kind of, I have an understanding that in this world of free will, they're not allowed to break our free will. So they always have to tell us, they always have to give us a fighting chance. They're not allowed to put a bear trap in the woods without, buried in leaves, without us saying, hey, there's a bear trap up here. They have to kind of tell us what they're doing. So they tell us. I mean, they tell us everything. All the big events in the world that happen that aren't, as they say, they are broadcast to us. They tell us what they're doing. And then when we don't say no, that's us, consenting.
Yeah, I think there's something strange. I don't know for sure. I'm just conjecturing here in their whole secret handshake clubs and spiritually, where they think they have to tell you. And I think they think they're off the hook karmically if they tell you. That's my theory.
Yeah, that's with you there. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's exactly what you're saying, right? And because they say, well, we told them. I mean, come on.
Let me ask you a question. And again, this is a visual thing. I'm showing you an image. I'm showing you an image right now, and then I'm going to change it to another image. So we have this image right here, and we have this image right here. Which one of them is fake?
Let me remind that people on audio can listen and watch this on the front page live at oneradionetwork.com if you'd like to see Dave. So do that again.
So we have this image here, number one.
Yes, sir.
We have image number 2, and we have image number 3. Which one of them is fake?
I have no idea.
Okay, which one of them is from the James Webb telescope?
I think one of the first ones, right?
They're all fake.
They're all fake.
Well, the second one was from James Webb, but there's no difference. These are made in simple programs. And again, if you took mine and put it into photo forensics and put theirs into photo forensics, it's going to tell you that it's fake. So back to the, why are they so sloppy? It baffles me why they're so sloppy.
Dave Wise is with us. Call if you'd like to talk to him, 888-663-6386. So you're saying that every one of these incredible images that are going around on all Facebook around the world, and people are going, wow, that they're all just images, that this telescope doesn't even exist? Or what do you think?
Well, the telescope doesn't. I mean, it exists here on Earth. It's not a real telescope. If you watch any of the footage, this thing, they put it up into orbit. They detach it from the rocket, and it's already losing signal. It's already like 75% signal loss. And now that's right above the Earth in orbit, right? And of course, they're showing the curvature of the Earth. And then it deploys out, and it starts deploying the wings of the telescope. And like everyone's like, wow. And it's literally the grainiest, blurriest, horrible picture. They're forgetting that this thing now has to travel 1,000,000 miles away and park itself in a magical place called the Lagrange point, which is where the gravity of the sun and the gravity of the Earth neutralize each other, and it could just sit there and maintain that position. This is all absolute and complete and total nonsense. And people are like, "Oh, I'm not smart enough to do that. I don't have a degree." So, someone says it has to be real. It's all physically impossible nonsense.
Wow. The
Yeah.
whole thing. And Hubble was the same way, Dave, in your opinion? It was all scammed?
Hubble it's complete and total nonsense. Think about this. Remember years ago we got the deep field image from a telescope here. I think it was from a telescope here on Earth. I think it was the deep field image. Basically, they said they're focusing on a point in the sky about the size of a grain of rice, and they did an extended, hours time lapse, and then all of a sudden it saw like 150 galaxies. Okay, it's like showing this crazy thing. And they said the telescope itself is on a cement pad that's, many feet thick. And the operator has to walk around carefully wearing socks. Can't even wear shoes because the slightest vibration would ruin the long exposure. Okay, that's pretty cool. Wow. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they forgetting that the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting at 66,000 miles an hour, and chasing the sun at 500,000 miles per hour? Think how much it's moved during that photograph, during that multi-houred photograph. Okay. And then if you look at the Hubble, not only is the Hubble mirroring all of those images, it's also traveling another 20,000 miles an hour just to keep up with the Earth. Okay. Just to orbit the Earth. Right. It's all absolute and total. Once you look at it, you're like, it's like, how did you ever believe it? I mean, and then they recently did a servicing on the Hubble, maybe it was last year or something. And the picture they took was the same picture that they showed us when they first launched it. Same picture.
Is that really?
Yeah.
Same one.
Same picture. And if you actually go look up the Hubble telescope, it's literally a can of Del Monte beans wrapped in tinfoil attached to another smaller can with a little flip top. And then it's got remember those balsa wood airplanes with the wind up propeller and the wheels? It has those wheels on it, little wire with little tiny wheels. Okay. It's absolute garbage. But people just believe it because we have so much pride attached to this, and everybody loves space. We've all been programmed to love space, since before we could even talk.
Let me just play just a hair of this, because this will give folks the reason they believe this stuff. This is CNN, right?
Yeah, there we go. All computer graphics. None of it's real.
This is why the sun.
Is there sound on that? Because I can't hear the sound.
Oh, you can't hear the sound?
No.
Oh. Sorry, I don't know how to do it.
So you have to say, click share with sound before you share it. On the bottom left, there's a share with sound.
Oh. Oh, that's okay. People hear this stuff. We don't have to do it.
As long as they hear it, that's fine.
Yeah. So I mean, they're talking about billions of light years and going back in time and all this crazy stuff on CNN, and people believe this, Dave.
So think about this. People don't understand how light works. So if you and I are standing a foot away from each other, a couple of feet away from each other, 6 feet to be safe, we're talking, we could hear each other. But if you moved 100 yards away and I talked to my regular voice, it'd be a little harder to hear me. And if you moved a couple miles away, you wouldn't hear me. Why is that? Because my sound is spreading out and thinning out in all directions because it's stretching to fill the entire circle around me. The bigger that circle gets, the more dispersed the sound gets. It gets to the point where it's unaudible, right? Not audible. You with me?
Uh-huh.
Light does the same thing. Okay, get a flashlight, hold it an inch from the wall, and then get a light meter and shine it on the bright spot on the wall and say, okay, how many lumens is that? And then back away a couple feet and then measure the wall. And it's much lighter. And back away, it exponentially gets dimmer and dimmer. Every time you double the distance to a light, it's 1/4 of the brightness. Okay, so that's a powerful exponential change. So as light spreads out, it gets dimmer and dimmer. Right. So if you have a balloon, imagine that the rubber on the balloon is a measurement of the light and it's not blown up. And I blow it up to 6 inches. Well, there's still a good amount of rubber there. I blow it up to 2 feet wide. That balloon is getting really thin. I blow it up to 10 feet wide. How thin is that rubber? That's the light. I blow it up to a mile wide. Is there any detectable light at that point? Okay. Just a scale model. Right. We're supposed to believe that we're seeing stars at infinite distances. That is absolutely insanity to think about. Let me give you something to think about. Okay.
Okay.
So they tell us our sun is gigantic and our Earth is tiny, right? So if the sun was a yoga ball, right? Everyone knows how big a yoga ball is. The Earth would be like a BB next to it, right?
And the difference, what they say, the size difference.
The size difference is we're like a small marble or a BB, a ball bearing, whatever, next to the big yoga balls. Okay. So if the, excuse me, if the sun was just a mile over our head at noon directly above us, it would fill the entire sky. It's so big. We're just this tiny little thing. But then we move it 93 million miles away where they tell us, and now it's the size of a coin held at arm's length. Okay, so it reduced in size because of perspective, right? If I doubled the distance, it's now what we call it. It's now twice of distance. How much smaller would it get? It's tiny, if you could see it at all. If we made it double that distance, so now it's 4 times farther. Could you see it? The answer is no, you can't. But let's double it again, so it's 8 times farther. 8 times farther can be measured in what we call a light hour, right? You know what a light year is? Well, a light hour is just 1 hour of that year. It's the distance light travels in an hour because they tell us our sun is 8 light minutes away. So when the sunlight that we see was 8 minutes ago, cool story, right? So I made it 8 times farther. 8 times 8 is 64. We'll call it a light hour. At a light hour, it is scientifically provable 2 things: that the angular size of the sun is too small for our eye to resolve. It's just too small, right? You can only see something. I think what is it? I forget the formula. I should remember it. Something size. You can only see it that many times in distance. It's something like 2,000 times its diameter in distance, or something like that. Doesn't matter. Okay. So at a light hour away, we can't see the sun. We can scientifically prove that, but I can't move the sun a light hour away. So what can I take to prove that? Well, let's look at Polaris. Polaris is our North Star. We can see it with our naked eye. Polaris is 46 to 48 times bigger, they tell us. Let's just say 48 because that's easy math. 48 times farther than our sun, placed at 1 hour away, would be 48 hours. So let me
see if I understand. You're saying that they tell us that Polaris is 48 times further away than 93 million miles?
No. I'm not telling you that. They tell it's 48 times bigger than our sun.
Bigger.
So if I wanted to make Polaris the same size as our sun, just like they tell us our sun is 400 times bigger than the moon, but it's 400 times farther. That's why they look like they're the same size. So I want to do the same thing with Polaris. It's 48 times bigger. So let's make it 48 times farther. 48 times farther than 1 light hour, right? We're trying to, the sun at a light hour away, we know that we can't see it. So at 48 hours away, 2 light days away, it would be the same unseeable size. You with me? Am I making sense?
Yes,
all right. So that's the end of the math right there. At 2 light days away, we can scientifically prove the angular size of Polaris is not visible. But Polaris is not 2 light days away. It's not 2 light weeks away. It's not 2 light years away. It's not 200 light years away. It's not 400 lights away. It's over. It's 433 light years away. Now, everyone that's listening, your brain should have melted at this point, going, these numbers are too big. I can't deal with it. And that's by design. They never taught you to think. They taught you to memorize and regurgitate. There's another problem. Besides it being ridiculously impossible to see, the brightness doesn't work. I mean, the moon, for us to see it at the brightness that we see it from Earth, the moon, the astronauts supposedly, and we're going to get into the moon in a second because of the launch, it just didn't happen. The astronauts took a famous picture of the moon at about 100 miles away, and it's a dusty, dirty ball, just like we all see it, that like they tell us it is. Yeah. Well, at that distance, the inverse square law of light science dictates that the brightness of the sun would be over 60 times brighter than we see the sun from Earth. The brightness of the moon, I'm sorry. The moon would need to be 60 plus times brighter than we see it from Earth for us to see the moon at the brightness that we see it. You can't even imagine the sun twice as bright as it is. It's unimaginable.
Wow. So that's the whole, when we saw those phony pictures of, because they didn't really go there, it just because that one idea, it just doesn't compute, right? Just the light thing,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many sure. problems with the moon landing. There's infinite number of problems.
No, of course. Yeah. We don't need to go into that.
Yeah.
So Dave Weiss, what do you suppose this new moon thing is about? Just to rally the nation like they did in '69 and make like they're going to go up there again and do the whole thing? And
it is a mind game. The whole, people go, NASA's fake, hiding the flat Earth. The whole purpose of NASA, which is not a space agency, NASA. Okay. The whole purpose of NASA is to make you think you can walk on a ball, to make you believe in heliocentrism, because the heliocentric system is a prison for your mind, right? Mm-hmm. It's a prison for your mind. And if you don't escape heliocentrism, you'll never become your true potential. You'll never make it to your full potential. So that's the reason we have NASA. So this entire mission, which they scrubbed, they were supposed to launch, they're launching a manned rocket to the moon, but without men in it. Okay. That's the first joke. Well, they have test dummies in it, and the test dummies have radiation detectors. Well, what about our poor astronauts that all went to the moon through the radiation in the 1960s and 70s? Okay. 6 missions to the moon. And no one has radiation problems. Lots of them are still alive. Okay. What is this? I mean, and here's the thing: when they finally do launch it, I'm predicting they launch it at night, because they don't want to launch this during the day. All right. Because there's too many eyes on it. There's too many people with Nikon P1000 cameras that can zoom in and see the nonsense that's happening. I can test, just like the space shuttle, that this is going to make people cry. People are going to get really angry when I say this. Nobody has ever been on a space shuttle. Okay. This is a helium balloon. Okay. NASA controls all of the helium in the world. They're the largest consumer of helium for many reasons. One, all their satellites are hanging on helium, balloons. But this external tank, remember the shuttle has the big external tank? That is a blimp, right? It's a blimp, a rocket-assisted blimp. That's why the thing takes off so slowly. And when that blimp is falling down to Earth, it's metal. It weighs like 40,000 pounds empty, they tell us. It's supposed to fall back to Earth and burn up, okay? What I'm showing here, for those of you that are looking, this is the blimp, the external tank, free falling to Earth. Now, Patrick, does that look like it's free falling? Because I'm going to make this worse. No. And a little tissue just floated by, shows you that it's literally floating. Okay, this is being filmed by the guys on the shuttle that are rocketing towards space at close to 20,000 miles an hour. They're going 20,000 miles an hour up. This thing is falling, and somehow they keep it in perfect frame. And it's not falling. It's floating. This is a balloon. Okay, that's a lot for people to take in, because you have to throw away. I've just ruined Star Wars, Star Trek, Empire, all of the Battlestar Galactica, all of it's finished.
So all of these SpaceX, Elon Musk things for this Starlink satellites, they're all balloons, correct?
Well, I don't even know what Elon's putting up there, because when people see these lines of lights in the sky, which you rarely see, but some people see them, I haven't seen them myself, but I've heard other people that I trust that see them. They're just doing some sort of parlor trick, just like when they have the transits of the ISS across the moon. It's a parlor trick. There's 2 different tricks that they do with that. But I think that the lights that people are seeing are either low flying drones or possibly some sort of a blue beam projection.
Mm-hmm. So, but the satellites to do the world, I thought it was interesting that Elon Musk is doing the satellite connections in the United States almost a state at a time or segments at a time, which would play into the idea that he's just putting up balloons, right? I mean,
no, or he's just using it's all ground based, like people think that their satellite TV is connecting to satellites. It's not, it's connecting to towers. Okay. Now listen, there is technology back in the 70s and the 80s.
Right.
My father lived on an island off of Puerto Rico, and we had a giant satellite dish, like 16 feet wide, and it would move from satellite to satellite. Now quotations around satellites, and it would like pick up a dozen stations here and go to the next one, pick up a dozen stations. Right. And there was a lot. I wish I had smart enough to record back then, because you got the raw news feeds and stuff, the stuff that didn't go out to the public. Yeah. But I think that is just, they're using the firmament, the dome, and they're bouncing signals off the dome. And if you just aim your thing towards the dome, you can pick up a signal that they're bouncing. That's all I think it is.
Yeah, that's right. So this dome exists. It's called the firmament. We kind of, can we prove, well, I think we've certainly seen rockets that have hit it and scrape along the top of it. In your mind, David Wise, is that real proof that the firmament dome thing exists?
Well, people say, well, what is proof? We can't go there, can't touch it, so it's hard. But there's a preponderance of evidence, from the Go Fast rocket that went up, and all of a sudden it went kerplunk, and it stopped spinning, and it floated, and it was really weird. And then that video was going viral on many different channels, and all of a sudden they came out with, oh no, it has a yo-yo, anti-yo-yo de-spin mechanism, where it like throws out yo-yos with weights on them. They wrap around it and it stops it from spinning. And they showed us a little model of that happening. It was so ridiculous. And then they're like, oh, that's what it did it. And then no other explanation. They literally were doing damage control. But the interesting thing about the Go Fast rocket is it saw the moon. When it went up and it was floating for that minute or so, it saw the moon. But what's so weird about seeing the moon? It's because that Go Fast rocket launched over Arizona. Yeah. It went up and it saw the moon, which is over Australia. Okay. That's like if you had a basketball and the Go Fast rocket was on the top of the basketball, it was a fraction of a millimeter above the basketball, and the moon was below the basketball. How did you see it? How did you see the moon? Only answer is the earth is flat.
Dave Weiss, here's an email for you. By the way, and I got several emails, we'll get to them, but email in or call in. Aside from the obvious black budget that NASA and other space agencies allow for, in addition to the desire to hide God and his creation, let's see, he said during the interview last week, regarding the need to create a fake world in order to penetrate the maritime law scam, which impacts every facet of our lives, our certificates, licenses, financial, etc. I thought it was incredibly profound. Oh, he's talking about Steve Falconer, who was on this show, and he was talking, Dave, I don't think I really understood it completely, but this is all part of the idea that they have created a false citizens in a place that doesn't even exist. You know that idea?
Yeah, the whole thing with your birth certificate and everything's maritime law. If you think about it, the everything they talk about in space sounds nautical. Docking, Sea of Tranquility, ships. It's all nautical terms. So the word trickery that they use is very obvious once you understand and know what you're looking for.
Yeah. Dave, stay right there. We're going to do a quick little break here. Patrick Timpone, OneRadioNetwork.com.
Broadcasting from the beautiful Hill Country in Texas, this is OneRadioNetwork.com.
Thanks for coming on the show, Flat Earth Dave. You spend most of your waking hours doing these kinds of shows, don't you? I mean, you're that much into this. It's just amazing.
I do like talking to people and helping unplug them from the matrix. And the matrix is the heliocentric system.
It really is. And when you dig deep into it, if we just don't my opinion, if we just don't understand or believe we're in a place that we're not really in, that could be a hard thing on the spiritual level if we're living a lie. Don't you think? I mean, I think that.
There are people that are doing okay. There are people that have found a niche
Sure.
and they believe they live on a ball. But when you understand where you are and the true power of your mind, your potential is unleashed. It's
Mm,
unlocked, and then any limitations are now put on by
yeah.
yourself. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you believe you live on a ball, you're trapped in a prison. Your mind can't expand. You probably listen to the news, which is steering your mind north, east, west, south. It steers your mind with fear, false evidence appearing real. Okay. And if you live in that fearful, lacking, we're running out of food and water,
Food.
and we're
Right.
overpopulated. All of that stuff is complete and total nonsense. Yes, we need to take care of our world and not pollute and stuff like that. But they're saying that running out of oil. Well, that didn't happen, and all the oil wells are full again. Okay, they're literally controlling us with oil because there's free energy technology that's right here that they've hidden from us. Okay.
Yeah.
So people are like, well, I still got to go to work. I still got to pay my taxes. Well, that tax money is going towards technology that you'll never see, going towards cures for things which are existing everywhere, but you'll never see that. Right. It's all for the rulers of this world. And, right now, I don't know if pretty sure you're aware we're in something called the Great Reset. Go read the book. They're telling us. They put it in a book called the Great Reset. They're telling us
something. I don't know what it is, David, but they're going to do something strange.
Go read the Communist Manifesto, right?
Yeah.
It talks about all the things you need to do before you take a country down. We're literally at the last step. The last one is like 15 or 20 steps. And literally every single thing has been done. We're down to the last one.
I think it's fascinating too, like some big deals like the germ theory that we look a lot at. And it is a theory that germs don't exist. Yep. They just don't, never been proven to exist. And think about that. You have a $3 trillion medical thing built on a lie. Vaccines, antibiotics, right?
Yeah.
Just boom. But boy, more people are waking up. I mean, the germ theory thing is really getting out there. I mean, we're starting to see some mainstream people questioning it, and even people like Tucker Carlson's now questioning these injections, which is a big deal for the Fox to even let them do that.
I just heard a report that they've been doing heart scans on healthy athletes, and more than 50% of them have myocarditis without symptoms yet, but they all have myocarditis, right? That means sudden death at any moment could happen. Okay. That's crazy.
I know.
But people just don't see it. People don't see it.
They can get away with it.
Yep.
Here's an email from Chris from Pennsylvania. If you have an email or a question, surely you probably think he's a little loony, but come on, ask him a question and see if he can help you understand.
Patrick, all of us, every single flat earther, and there's now millions and millions of us. We all thought it was crazy. We laughed at people that brought it up, including you. You probably did too. And and most of us were so convinced that the earth is a globe that we refused to look at any evidence. Well, that's the height of ignorance right there. But once you look, you can't unsee it. And and that's why I offer the 3 Bitcoins for 1 globe proof. And people go, there's a million globe proofs. There's no flat earth proofs. Opposite of truth. Okay. Yeah. There's 0 globe proofs. There's a million flat earth proofs.
Can you please ask Dave from Chris in Pennsylvania? Can you please ask Dave to talk about the moon phases and what actually causes them? Is it the visual perspective? It's obviously not the shadow of the earth. Also, the sun and the moon are definitely rotating above the flat earth plane. Oh, he's a flat earther. Are at different speeds. Do we actually know how fast? So he's got several questions in here.
I can address.
Yeah, I'm interested in the phases. Is the moon just doing this on their own?
Well, a lot of people get this confused. They think that the moon phases are in the heliocentric model explained by the Earth causing them. That's not what causes the moon phases in the heliocentric system. Eclipses are caused, lunar eclipses are allegedly, but not true, caused by the shadow of the Earth. In the heliocentric system, the moon phases are caused by the angle of the sun to the moon. When the sun is behind the moon, from our perspective, we have a new moon. When the sun is on the opposite side of the earth, we have a full moon, because that's what they tell us. Now, we can scientifically prove that the light that we're seeing from the moon is not reflected light from the sun, right? The moon is a dusty, dirty ball. It's reflecting sunlight back to the earth so bright that it casts shadows that I could read by it in the middle of nowhere. I can drive my car with the lights off. That's scientifically impossible. We went over that earlier. Okay.
Sure.
So now people say, well, the shadows in the craters prove that the earth, that it's a cratered filled rock. Well, no, it proves that, hey, there's something going on there with shadows and the angle to the light. But people don't realize we go through moon phases every 28 point something days. And there's a week every month where the sun doesn't quite line up with the way we see the moon. The light's shooting up and the sun's down over there. Doesn't make any sense. But I actually think that the light we see from the moon does come from the energy of the sun. I believe the moon is its own light and it's part of an electrical system, and the sun is transmitting that energy just like the sun transmits electricity here for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
People don't know how solar panels work. Scientists do not know how solar panels work. They have a theory. Well, photons flying, takes 1 billion years to come from the middle of the sun. Then it comes out of the sun. It flies to Earth in 8 minutes, and then it crashes into the solar panel and knocks an electron out. The boron, fills just a complete convoluted story. When the truth is, it's sending electricity here, and the solar panel's capturing that electricity and running it into current, running it into a wire. Okay, that's all it is. Now, if you put a house plant in front of a fireplace and another one in front of a ray of light bulbs, one of them's going to grow, the other one's going to shrivel up and die. Okay, electricity is what we're getting from the sun. Everything. We're electrical beings. Our blood travels through our body electrically. Okay, it's not pumped by our heart; it's charged by our heart. Right? Everything is electric.
Everything. So how does that tie in with the ideas of 500, 600, 700 years ago with the the top of the castles and the Tesla thing of getting energy from the ether? Is that different from the sun, in your opinion?
Well, I think that the sun and the moon are part of the electrical system of our world. If you look at the sun and the moon are the anode and the cathode of the Earth battery system. Right. So what does that mean? The sun is the anode, and the sun is the cathode, and the moon is the anode. The salt water carries the current, and the land is the salt bridge. It's a giant battery. Okay. And so Tesla figured out how to pull the energy out of the earth and transmit it through the air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And then, Westinghouse and JP Morgan, they're like, wait a minute, we can't charge for this. You're out of business. Okay. And they literally
went with Edison, right?
People go, Dave, with all the stuff going on in the world, why does it matter? Why do you care about this? And I say, with all the stuff that they're getting away with in the world right now is because people are lost in space, spinning out of control, don't know where they are. Imagine this. I say this to young people. It sticks very well. What if you had something the size of a roll of quarters that would heat your house for the next 100 years? What if you had something the size of a roll of quarters that would power your house and power your car for the next 100 years? And once you have it, you don't need to get another one. Well, now you don't have to pay for gas, electricity, air conditioning, heat, right? Now you don't have to pay for transportation, really. And imagine, you have that, you got some land, start gardening, you're pretty self-sufficient at that point.
Yeah,
okay.
You're good.
They can't have that.
Good.
They can't have self-sufficient people. What if you had a vehicle, an airship that you can fly and it's solar powered, okay? Or free energy powered, okay? Well, you can go anywhere you want. Well, they can't have that. What if you went to Antarctica? What if you discovered what was in the outer space? Right?
No.
We don't want you knowing that. So why does it matter? It matters so much that people can't see it. This is the biggest deception. This is the reason that we're all slaves.
Yeah. We put a video up on Facebook this morning called The Blue Origin. I'm sure you've seen it over the years. And it goes up, what is it, Dave? 60 something miles or so, they claim 60 miles. And there is nothing but Earth. And it's all, of course, just a straight line across. So I've been thinking, we don't even know how big Earth is, right? It could be huger than huge, more than we even know exist on the other side of the ice, couldn't it?
Right. So we don't know. Again, anything beyond the shoreline of Antarctica
we don't know.
is speculation. Okay. But, I like to speculate. And I'm saying, hey, we have ideas of what's out there. We have, there's an old Japan map that was, there was an old map that was found in Japan showing a bunch of other continents beyond Antarctica. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So what are these other continents? Well, these are extra territory from the outer space. Well, that's scientifically possible. Here across the Earth plane, there could be more land beyond Antarctica, but we're not allowed to go beyond 60 degrees south. And it's guarded by 7 military bases that surround the whole pond, right? No one is allowed to go unsupervised. Now, you can go from Santiago, Chile, to the Rothschild Island, which is on the peninsula of Antarctica, and stay there for a couple of days. Cost you $20,000-$50,000 or whatever, and you barely get off the ship. No independent exploration to the outer area, and then they kick you out, and that's it. Okay, we don't know what's in the outer lands, and we want the right to explore. But what if there was? We live in what I call the heliocentric pond, not the heliocentric pond. We live in a pond, right? What do I mean by that? So if the world was set up like a big circular pond, all of the continents are islands, and the shoreline of the pond holds the water in because it's higher than the water. Well, Antarctica is the highest land on Earth.
And those pictures that we see, this huge ice wall, the videos that are out there, those are real, right? I mean,
there's millions of videos, pictures. Yeah. There is a shoreline of Antarctica. And the reason it's an ice wall, it's not like the Game of Thrones. It's an ice wall because the shoreline, the land is higher than the water, way higher. There's not like a beachfront. Okay. And so that's your ice wall. And then what's beyond there? That's what we want to know.
We just can't go there because of the UN and the treaty that they did. And I saw a video one time from a fellow who was at the Navy base, and they were actually looking at what this ice wall was made of. Pretty trippy stuff. I mean, it was like it almost healed itself when they put a hole in the wall.
Well, you're talking about sky ice, and now that's not from the ice wall. That's from the outer wall, from the outer lands where possibly they're drilling into where the dome meets the Earth. They call that sky ice, and it's so cold that they can't take it off of Antarctica because there's no way to keep it, and it doesn't melt. It shrinks and evaporates. Wow. It's kind of like dry ice, but different. It shrinks and then just disappears, and it's sky blue. It's made of I think it's made of oxygen. No, I'm not sure, but and that's only found in the outer lands of Antarctica. So what's going on with that? I don't know. What you're talking about is they drilled they got a tunneling machine, and they were tunneling through it for a couple of years, and then they just couldn't. They thought they'd come out the other side, but they didn't. But then they noticed behind them the tunnel kind of closed in. It started closing in and healing, and so they left. And now the whole thing is lost miles inside the ice. And that. And again, we don't have any. We don't have firsthand experience on this. We just hear stories about it.
A lot of theories too that's what the firmament is made out of, the same material, huh? Which would make sense. Right?
The way I like to, well, that's a possibility, and again, we don't know. But the way I like looking at it is, what if the world had many ponds? Okay, what if we lived in this little pond and I had our sun circling around? Right. But then just a couple thousand miles, 5,000, 10, 20, 30, 50,000 miles away, nothing compared to this cosmic distances, nothing. Right. There's another pond, another pond, another pond, another pond. All of these other ponds are pieces of the plane. You know what they call a piece of a plane? A planete.
Planete.
Yeah,
Oh, a
planet
piece.
is a
A
piece of
planet.
the plane. So maybe these other planets are all worlds surrounding a pond, surrounding our pond, right? Now, this is scientifically possible. A rock surrounded by water, surrounded by air, adjacent to a void is scientifically impossible. Impossible, right? And the distances, Patrick, the distances to the closest star, which is magnitudes closer than any other stars, is 25 trillion miles away. Did we discuss this last time?
No. Well,
25 trillion miles away. That's the closest star. Okay, 25 trillion miles. That's 4.5 light years. Okay, 25 trillion miles. That doesn't sound that far, does it? Patrick, do you know how long 1 trillion seconds is?
I don't know.
Take a guess, and if you guess it within a week, I'll give you
Okay.
a Bitcoin.
Okay. 1 trillion seconds would be like, I don't know, 1,000 years.
Very close. 31,000 years. Okay?
31,000.
31,000 years. Now think, let that soak in. 1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years. You can't fathom 31,000 years because I don't even think the earth has been here that long. Okay? It's a whole nother rabbit hole. Okay? 31,000 years is 1 trillion seconds. Well, if you were traveling at 100,000 miles an hour, which is unfathomable, 100,000 miles an hour, it would take you 28,000 years to get to the closest star. Okay? Ridiculous. If you were traveling a mile a second, much slower, it would take you 31,000 years to get 1/25th of the way to the closest star. Okay? Another on a speed that no one's ever obtained, and it would take you 31,000 years times 25 to get to the closest star. This is where your brain melts and you go, I can't deal with big numbers. I don't have a degree. I got an A in science because I memorized the Rockefeller science book. Okay. Well, great. You're a great regurgitator. And the best regurgitators become the teachers.
Here's one for you. Let me see if it's kind of long, but I'm going to soldier through it. The theory of relativity is one of the most accurate theories we have in making predictions. It predicted the parathonial Mercury to almost exact precision, predicts gravitational lensing exactly, black holes, neutron stars, and oh yes, the motion of all the planets in our solar system. I'm still waiting for a remotely rational explanation of why things fall to Earth the way they do. And again, density and buoyancy both depend on gravity to work.
All right. So the first part of that question is all theoretical. I'm not even going to address it because it's absolute nonsense. Now, no offense to the person, but let's go back and let me explain how gravity works. Now, they tell us gravity is a weak force. Okay. Gravity is a week force. Well, there's and it's a theory because, when you have a theory, if it doesn't work out, you throw it away and you get another theory. But in scientism, heliocentrism, they don't just make up stuff. Hey, we'll make 96% of it dark matter, dark energy that no one's ever seen, no one's ever measured, but it has to be there or the theory doesn't work. Okay, so they made up stuff. 96% of gravity is made up because gravity doesn't work without it. But they still tell us it's a weak force. You know what the electrostatic force is? Where the negative attracts a positive. Well, the Earth has a negative charge to it, okay? The Earth has a negative charge, and it doesn't move, right? And the air, the atmosphere, has a positive charge. The sky has a positive charge. So anything you lift up off of the Earth is now surrounded in that positive charge. Well, the Earth isn't moving, and it says, hey, down here is this way, and it has an attraction. So how can we test this? So what we did is we got some helium balloons, and we tied them to this button. There's just a little button that we have, and we have a wire connected to it that's connected to a Van de Graaff generator, which generates a static charge. So we add a negative charge to this, and when we add a negative charge to it, it gets heavier and it falls to the ground because we had a positive charge. We had a positive charge. And when we discharge it, it goes back up. Well, that's telling us that we're dealing with electromagnetism. We're dealing with the static charge of our world. So how can we test the Anyone can look this up on YouTube. They put tinfoil, anti-gravitic tinfoil triangle. And what we do is we add a negative charge to it, and it goes up away from the negatively charged Earth. And it's still connected, so it's not getting a positive charge because we're keeping a negative charge in it, and it's floating. This is how some exotic technologies work, for, anti-gravitic. It's really anti-electrostatic propulsion, okay? And then to make it worse, there is they recently, MIT made this thing called the silent drone. It's a drone that has no moving parts. It's just changing the electrostatic potential, and it flies in silence.
Fascinating. Wow.
Yeah, silence. So now getting back to the caller or emailer's question, you need gravity for density and buoyancy. Well, density and buoyancy, are definitely part of the system, but you have to prove that it's gravity. So now let's look. We just proved that that electrostatics can be tested, can be experimented with, and they work, right? But they know what they tell us about the electrostatic force. It is 10 to the 20th times more powerful than gravity, right? 10 to the 20 is an unfathomable number. Let's just say it's 10 times more powerful or 10 million times more powerful. It's still much smaller than the number that they tell us, right? If it's 10 million times stronger, when you drop something, how can you assume it's the weak force of gravity, which has never been tested, is a theory that doesn't work, is what's making it go down, when we can show you that it's the electrostatic charge that is determining the down direction? Down is down for everybody because of the electrostatic charge of the Earth, period. If you change someone's electrostatic charge enough, they will float, okay? They will float.
An email from Sally. Do you think the argument about the Earth spinning to the east and planes flying, and it just doesn't work out mathematically if the Earth was spinning, do you think that's a reasonable argument to tell my friends? Oh, I know what she's talking about. Right. You get that. Is that a good argument?
So the Glober argument for that is if you're sitting on a runway, and let's say in Ecuador, that's on the equator. The equator is moving at about 24,000 miles an hour to the east. Okay. Wow. So if you're sitting on a runway in an airplane, that runway, according to a point in space, would be moving 1,000 miles an hour because the Earth is just over 24,000 miles around. The Earth goes around once in a day. The equator makes a 24,000 mile circle. So you're moving at 1,000 miles an hour. Okay. That in the heliocentric model. All right. So when you take off, you have that, inertia, if you will, and then you're flying within the air system. All of the air is velcroed to the Earth in the heliocentric system, which is which is nonsense. But here's the problem. If you're sitting on a runway in northern Alaska, well, northern Alaska is very close to the North Pole compared to the equator. And if you sit on that runway for 24 hours, you're drawing a circle around the North Pole, equidistant all the way around. So yes, you're going 360 degrees around in 24 hours, but you're traveling a much smaller circle. You're not going 24,000 miles. You're only going a few thousand miles. Okay. So let's say at Alaska, the runway is only moving 300 miles per hour around because that's the circle times 24 hours. Okay. Are you with me?
I am.
Okay. So if you're in a helicopter or an airplane, you've got that 300 mile an hour spin and you take off and you fly to Ecuador, and now you want to land on a north-south oriented runway. That runway is moving sideways at 1,000 miles an hour. Okay. How the heck are you going to land on it? Where are you going to get that extra speed? Now, let's say you got 300 and the plane speeds up to another 500. Add them together, you're going 800 miles an hour. It doesn't work that way. But where's the extra 200 miles an hour to catch up to that runway that's moving sideways? Right? Well, the atmosphere is spinning with it. That's not true. Air blows left, right, up and down. And the funny thing is the air at 40,000, 45,000 feet is spinning faster than the Earth in the same direction. It's outrunning the alleged spin of the Earth. How the heck is that possible? If the Earth is spinning and all the air is spinning with it, at best, the air would slip backwards. it would lose ground a little bit because it has to, at an altitude, it has to go faster than the Earth is spinning just to keep up with it. You understand? That's
Yes.
making a bigger circle. All of it when you think about it and you let down your indoctrination. And the worst people are the ones that got straight A's in science, straight A's, right? Because that's their identity, right? When you tell them all of that studying was nonsense, they're like, nope, I'm not going to listen. You're a fool. My textbook said this. Look at me. I high honors. I graduated top of my class. You're indoctrinated. I'm sorry.
I agree. It's the same.
I took 4 years of astronomy. What a waste.
Yeah. It's the same thing. What happens, with the medical, they're just taught about germs and they just can't let it go. And I understand, they mean well, but they've just been, they're just germed. Somebody put a thing about the bridge over the Lake Pontchartrain and the curve in that. Have you ever seen that picture?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's that about? I was trying to find it here.
Yeah. So it's all about perspective. No one ever shows a side view of that bridge curving. There's a distorted view of that bridge. And it's all perspective. There's this one picture that the Globers love. If that was the curvature of the bridge, the Earth would be maybe 10 miles around. Because it's what they show you is absolute insanity amount of curvature they show us. So whenever you see a curve of the Earth, you have to really look at it and complete the circle and go, wait a minute, how small is the Earth? How small is the Earth? Right?
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that I mean, when you look at it, they don't add up, right? So Lake Pontchartrain makes absolutely no sense. So this is actually, here's a bridge right here, and it looks like it's going down, but it's not.
Right.
It's just perspective, right? But on another day, you can take another shot, and it looks like it's curving down. It doesn't work that way. There's so many illusions when you're looking straight forward. But the thing is, we've done laser tests across frozen lakes and stuff, right? We've done it. We can see too far, right? There was one where we did a test across what was it? It was in Death Valley, I thought. It's spaced my name. I'm spacing out on it right now, but National Geographic showed up and they wanted to do their own test. So they got a boat and they got this like big flag thing, big board that had red and white stripes on it. And they had the boat go away and they held it at the water, and the people at the edge of the water, they're like, oh, look, the bottom two stripes are missing. Okay. And that's only because the curvature of the Earth, right? Well, only half of one stripe was missing. But here's the problem. Think in your head. The water beyond the boat was still visible. If half the stripe was missing because it's beyond the curve, you shouldn't be able to see the surface of the water anywhere beyond that. But we can see the water from miles and miles and miles beyond the boat. So why was the bottom missing? And the bottom was missing because little waves in the foreground were blocking it. Because a little wave in the foreground is a big wave with a shrinking object in the background, right? Like I tell people, like if I held my finger against my chin, could it block my face? And the person's like, well, no. And I go, what if my finger, the wave was way closer to you? Yeah, it could block out a whole city skyline.
It's so fascinating that when we are dead set for or against something in our mind, and it's like logic just doesn't work. People cannot think logically about any, and I'm not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I know what I'm doing, but isn't it interesting? The mind just kind of gets locked and you can't really look at something logically and say, well, yeah, that's interesting.
People will see buildings, half the building is cut off. For those of you looking, I'm showing a picture here of a hotel and the bottom few floors are missing, right? But the truth is, this is with a P900 or P1000 camera. If I zoomed out, you couldn't see it. The entire building is gone with the naked eye. But when I zoom in, the bottom floors are missing. But there's a whole bunch of balconies, and all the balconies are the same width. But as you move down in the building, the balconies get tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. Right? Yeah. And then these little waves in the foreground are blocking the whole thing. It has these little waves in the foreground that could block half the building, right? And so that's what you're seeing. You're seeing compression. You're seeing blocking. Whenever you see stuff in the distances where things are really missing, it's usually a very windy day and there's 6-foot swells out there, right? A 2-inch wave can block out New York City skyline for me. Okay, a 2-inch wave, let alone 6-foot swell.
If the human eye can only see so far, what are we seeing up there now? Stars. Yeah, what are we seeing?
We're seeing stars right here. They're not burning balls of hydrogen in a vacuum. Again, scientifically impossible. These are lights all here within our system, right? They tell us, our sun is, thousands of times bigger than the Earth, and Betelgeuse is 100 million times bigger than the sun, and there's other ones bigger. There's all these different stars. How come all the stars look the same size? How come we don't have medium stars and larger stars and tiny stars?
Exactly.
Okay, right? They're all here within, and again, the brightnesses don't work. As you go away, they'd have to get magnitudes brighter. Okay, if our sun is 93 million miles away, if I made it twice that distance, it would have to be 4 times brighter. If I doubled that distance again, it would have to be 16 times brighter. And if I doubled it again to a light hour away, it would have to be 64 times brighter. Okay.
Just doesn't work, does it?
I'm at a light hour, 2 hours, again, double that, 4 hours, again, double that, 8 hours, again, double that, 16 hours, again, double that. We're not even to a friggin' light day yet. Okay. and the brightness is insanity. Oh, when I say double, it's not double, it's 4 times. It's 4 times the brightness. It would have to be.
So, Dave, stars, we don't know for sure, but they must be some kind of a living things that has their own light.
Do you believe that the Earth is living?
No, I don't know. I guess sure. Everything's living.
I do.
Yeah.
And to assume that the Earth is living and the stars aren't part of this living system is, I think it's a leap in logic, a gap in logic. So,
what star is that?
This is the star Capella. And when you can see it with your naked eye, it's amazing. And it looks just like that. Zoom in with any zoom lens, binoculars, and you see this pulsing orb of amazing light. Okay. These, in my opinion, are sentient intelligences. Right? Astrology is the real science, right? Millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. Okay. Right? The people that know this world love their dates, love their planetary alignments, love their rituals, because there's power behind it about knowing how this stuff works. Astrologers they get it. And there's many astrologers that, most that think your world is a spinning ball, because you can relate the position of everything to, you can convert it to a ball, right? But they tell us that our solar system is flat. All the planets are lined up across a plane. Why is that? Because they're all above the Earth plane. They're all circling around the Earth plane, right? And in astrology, the movement of the planets, the planets, they affect everything. How come astrologers don't talk about the movement of Earth? Right? The Earth is moving 4.5 billion miles a year. Okay? It's moving in all different directions. They only care about the other one? Yeah. No, well, it's all relative. Astrologers that wake up to flat Earth become powerful astrologers. Okay.
Yeah. And it just makes more sense if you think that Mercury and other things have some kind of effect on you when we come into this embodiment. And if they're living sentient beings with intelligence, astrology makes more and more sense as you think about it that way.
I used to laugh, Mercury's in retrograde. I'm like, what does that rock 25 million miles away that can't even affect our tides have to do with anything that happens to me? But then in reality, you find out that it's right here, that it's within our system, right? Think about this. Have you looked up at seen Jupiter's been in the sky recently and Mars? They're bright as, if not brighter than most stars. Okay. You have to believe that the dusty, dirty, gassy ball that we call Mercury, we call Jupiter, is reflecting sunlight back to us so bright that it looks brighter than a star. That makes no sense. If you were on Jupiter looking at our sun practically is the size of a star. It's so far away. Okay. It's so tiny because it's farther away. That little star is lighting up this non-reflective surface, which is bouncing back to my eye here on Earth, and I see it brighter than a star. Wake up, people. You're being lied to on such a mass scale that you're refusing to look. Here's the problem. You actually have to use your brain, right? But what do they tell you in school about your brain? You only use how much of it?
Like 5% or 10
5 or
or something.
10%, right? That's what
Yeah.
they tell us. That's the goal of school, to use 5% of your brain, 10% of your brain, because if you use the other 90% and you connect with nature, connect with source, connect with reality, you might challenge the people that are ruling over us. Here's the
Those
thing.
pictures,
Go
those
ahead.
pictures, those pictures, excuse me, that are over your left shoulder. Those are all taken with an actual camera,
Yeah.
correct?
Now, some of
Those,
them are out of focus and some of them
okay.
are in focus. But let me tell you something. Filming something out of focus reveals a lot of information.
Hmm.
Okay. It reveals a lot of information.
Really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so do we know how far a lot of these stars are when I go out here in the Texas Hill Country and look at the stars, billions of them? Do we have
Yeah.
any idea how far they are? Can you conjecture or
Well,
see?
I mean, here's the thing. I don't know if you can calculate it.
Mm-hmm.
There's I'm waiting for someone to get a shot of this. I was on an interview the other day, and the guy said he was watching the moon rise over the Swiss Alps, and with his camera, he could zoom in on all the details of the moon. Right, the moon at the same height as the same line of sight as the mountains, but he couldn't zoom in on the mountains and get any detail.
Hmm.
Okay, so the moon is in more like I'm New York City's 25 miles from me. I can see more detail on the moon than I can zoom in on New York City. Okay, what is that? How far is the moon?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Go out on a starry night, on a full moon night or a bright moon night, and look at the moon when there's clouds in the sky, and you'll see that excuse me, that only the clouds near it light up, and the other ones remain in the dark. Well, if the moon was 238,000 miles away, it would light them all up.
It would. Yeah. Yeah, it would. Yeah.
But it's only lighting up the ones that are near it. But again, if my friend moved was a couple miles over, he would see it lighting up different clouds. The whole visuals of the sky are no way to prove the shape of the Earth. That's for sure.
And how do the heliocentric folks explain that the North Star never moves, which is a fact? And if you look at the star structure, it just circles around us, right, Dave? And then it comes back to the same place 1 year later, exactly the same spot. Is that true? How do they explain that?
Yeah, so we're corkscrewing around the solar system. We're going around the galaxy. We're traveling from one side of the sun to the other, 186 million miles. We're chasing the sun, excuse me, 4.5 billion miles a year, but Polaris never moves. Okay,
Yeah.
Polaris
what's
never
that?
moves. Remember the Georgia Guidestones, which just
Right.
no. So this is very interesting. Why I'm bringing this up.
Somebody blew it up. Yeah.
So there's a hole in the Georgia Guidestones that line up with Polaris. Well,
Yes.
there's two explanations that the heliocentrists have, and it's that the sun, the Polaris is so far away that all of the movement of the Earth doesn't matter. It's so far away, there's no parallax. That's
Really?
ridiculous. Okay,
Of course.
but here's the thing: they say in the heliocentric model that we're processing. And 2,000 years ago, we had a different North Star. It was Thuban. And now in a couple thousand years from now, we'll have another North Star because we are processing. And, but during our lifetime, we would never notice. Well, here's the thing. If we're processing, it's 1 degree every 72 years, according to heliocentrism. Well, half of that would be a half a degree. Well, the Georgia Guidestones were up for over 40 years. And a half a degree would move Polaris far out of that hole. A half a degree would move it way out of that hole. Okay.
It's all been in that hole, right?
But now the hole's gone.
Yeah. Well,
Now the hole's gone. Right. And so the heliocentrists want you to believe, but 2,000 years ago, we're on that. We just happened to live at the time where it lines up with Polaris. And all the time before, there was no North Star. And then, in a couple hundred years, there'll be no North Star again. Okay. That's just ridiculous. The pyramid the Great Pyramid of Giza has a shaft that lines up with Polaris. Why did they line? Well, they're like, it lined up with Thuban when they built it, and now it lines up with Polaris. These are desperation stories to hold on to a world belief that makes you feel like you're special. Okay. You know,
Here's
flat
a great
earthers have
question.
already changed our minds. Go ahead.
Yeah. Here's a great question from Anthony. He is in the great state of Georgia. So, what does your guest think about NASA's employees? Are they all in on the deal or what? That is a great question.
Yeah, I'll answer that.
I wonder what you could, I don't know, maybe my theory is maybe they convince people that this is a national issue, national security issue, and it's top secret.
I don't think
we
so.
have to do the moon thing because, it's good for the country. I don't know. What do you think?
So we've talked to many NASA people, and we had a whistleblower from NASA too. Very few people know. Everyone that works at NASA is completely compartmentalized from the person next to them, right?
Wow.
And they barely know anything. One of what we interviewed an old guy from the moon landings, back in the 60s in the control room, and he said they practiced so many times with simulations that when the real thing happened, they couldn't tell the difference.
Wow.
Right?
Really? So
why couldn't you tell the difference? Because it was another simulation. Right?
Wow.
So I would say, first thing, the number of people that work in NASA directly for NASA are far smaller. Excuse me, far smaller than they tell us. The other thing is, I think 99% of them have no idea that it's all fake. Okay,
Really?
No idea. And then in that control room, there's probably a few people that know the truth and are, hey, you check your monitor, you watch this data. They're just being fed data. Right? People go, we know how far the moon is because we bounce a laser off of it. We send 900 quadrillion photons up there in a laser beam, and then we capture one, and the machine goes ping. Okay. Do you think you could program a machine to go ping and then spit out a number? Of course you can. Okay.
Yeah.
And they think that's proof, right? But the whole, but how do we figure out how far the moon was before we put the laser reflector up there? Oh, we did it without a laser reflector. Okay. We did it with it. We did it without it. We're no longer using it. All complete and total mind garbage.
So in the mission control people in 69, they could have been a bunch of people that really believed it was going on because they were just being fed data. They were looking at data and it all looked real to them. I mean,
yeah, they're the best.
Right?
The best people are the ones that believe it. The best, the liars have a hard time, getting it out right. But there are a good number of people that know the truth. So, there's whistleblowers out there. There's astronauts that have come out and said the Earth is flat. Nobody's been to space. But they're quickly silenced. I think it was a Polish astronaut. I can't pronounce his name.
Yeah.
But he did a couple of years ago.
Interview.
Yeah. So you saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see it, but we put a thing up there. So they silenced him?
Well, I haven't heard from him. So, listen, this is a big, important secret, so those that are in and have agreed to keep their silence, they have to keep their silence. I haven't agreed to keep my silence. So I'm not keeping silent.
I don't think so. Okay. Yeah. So to kind of wrap it up, the final question, this is the big question that I keep thinking about.
Why to lie?
No,
go ahead.
So
Sorry.
If I believe that I'm on an immovable plane, which I totally know I am, I can't prove it, but I know I am not moving. And where is it? Where is it? If we don't have this whole space thing to be relative to, where is it?
No, that's an impossible question to answer. We are at the center of creation. We are
the center of creation.
And so, where is it? Where did the creator come from? These are questions that are beyond my ability to answer, but I believe we're all part of the creator. We're all sparks of the creator. Maybe that's what souls are. Souls are the creator dividing himself up and spreading himself out to have this amazing experience.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that. So exactly. It could just be a different, just a physical reality. And this is it. And it's just a reality, right? Just a reality.
Absolutely. Patrick, when I first heard about flat Earth, I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Refused to look. But then luckily somebody forced me to look. And when you look and you see, everything changes. Why the lie? This is the most important thing. In my app, the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, hit the frequently asked question mark button and hit why the lie. Watch those videos alone. That's worth it right there. That'll change your life. Okay.
But tell folks again about this app and how do they do that?
It's called the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. It's a long name. All you have to remember is flatearthdave.com. There's already a knockoff one by the the Flat Earth Society type people that want to gatekeep you. Just flatearthdave.com. Click it right there. But on it, we have a thing called the Friend Finder, and it shows you other app users near you. You can message them. You can send out group messages like, "Hey, we're having a meetup at so-and-so State Park or Joe's Pizza," whatever. And then all of these people show up, and they're all open-minded, clear thinking people. People are using it as a dating app. People are using it as a job app. People are using it as a true friend finder. It's amazing. And it's coming out with a big upgrade in a couple of days where the messenger is kind of slow. We're going to make it literally like it's iMessage on steroids. So it's going to be,
that's so funny.
It's going to be phenomenal. So
I can see it on these dating websites for saying, do you believe in germs? Do you believe in a global earth?
Well, here's the thing. I'm showing you just a small image right now of
look at all those people.
Right.
Wow.
All of every single one of them knows the truth about germs, knows the truth that we're not spinning ball, knows that we're at the center of creation. These are people that you want to meet. Every single one of these blue dots is somebody that is could be your best friend. Absolutely. Yeah. It's growing exponentially. People say flat Earth is dying. Yeah, flat Earth is dying in Google because Google's hiding the searches. It's all over. The UK is packed. Australia, New Zealand. We even have guys in Antarctica at this point.
Yeah. I think there is a thing called, you talked about the Great Reset. In my opinion, there is a great awakening going on.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of them. The germ thing, the, cosmology truth is the other thing. And there's going to be a lot of other things that are going to come up above the horizon, Dave Wise, in the next few years. And we're part of it, right?
Yeah. And, we didn't talk about it, but the Artemis fake mission to the moon again was canceled. And that's probably... they're saying it was weather. We have a lot of people in Florida with P1000s trying to film this thing, and I think they canceled it because of that, and they're probably going to launch it at night, is my guess.
Has anybody ever explained why these rockets go up and then they make a right-hand turn, every one of them?
Yep.
Do they just go out to the ocean, do you think? That's what they do?
They say that's because of the spin of the Earth. They're using it to propel it. It's all a complete and total nonsense. I mean, none of it makes any sense. I mean, think about Halley's Comet. How does it find us? It comes back 76 years later. What's 76 times 4.5 billion miles? Because that's where we are from where we were last time. Okay? I mean, what's it? Mirroring our motions? It's like the dumbest thing ever. Okay?
The more you talk about it, the more ridiculous it is. This heliocentric model.
You know what's amazing is when you hear about flat Earth, you laugh at the people that tell you about it. Okay, it's so stupid. But then when you understand what flat Earth is, you wonder, how the heck did I ever believe any of that nonsense? It literally is hysterical. I mean, Owen Benjamin, who's a great comedian who woke up to the flat Earth, a few years ago. When he rants about it, it's the funniest stuff ever. A comedian could literally be the funniest comedian ever just talking about the heliocentric model. It's the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah. Anita wants to know, has Dave written any books, or can he recommend any books that explain the theories to those who do not have a science background? From Anita?
Absolutely. So I have a meme book, but actually it's not for sale, so that doesn't really help. But in my app, I have an images section that has tons of images. Those alone will wake up people. That it'll blow your mind.
Look at that.
But also I have a book section where there's great books. Where my computer's running a little slow here. There's great books. There's children's books. There's scientific books. Great stories. Stuff about what's beyond the ice wall, supposedly a true story called The Iron Republic. Great books there. If you're a book person, just find these books here, and tons of other resources. The app. What I tell people is, get the app. Are we still there?
Yeah, we're here.
All right. Get the app, and every day there's a daily video, and I say watch the daily video every day for 2 weeks. And what happens is, before that 2 weeks is up, you're like, I want more. So people hit the archive button right next to it, and they call into work sick because they're like, I got to watch more. And then they realize, holy crap, flat Earth isn't stupid. And then they're like, well, I got questions. And you hit the question mark button, and all your questions are answered there. What about eclipses?
That's
what about
fun.
gravity? What about weather? What about seasons? Right?
Mm-hmm.
All of these things that you thought prove the globe prove flat Earth. Okay? So
Have you do you run across a lot of people that in their with their relationship with you and your app that they actually get it and they wake up and they go, "Oh my God,
oh,
you're right."
thousands. I have thousands of
Do you?
emails. You know what I've been
Wow.
saving? I've been saving the Glober emails that come to me, and the people are like, "Thank you for waking me up. I was
Oh, that's
depressed. Now
great.
I'm not. Thank you. I felt, I felt like I was in the Matrix. You were in the Matrix." And so I'm saving all those, and I'm saving the Glober ones, which is like, "Why don't you die? Why don't you?" Just like horrible negative stuff. It's going to be so funny, and to see like people say, "Where's heaven and where's hell?" I was just on a show asking,
Uh-huh.
where that is. I think heaven and hell is right here. It's whatever world you want to live in, right? Flat
Whatever
earthers are
reality you
living
want.
in heaven, and these globe anti-flat earthers are living in hell.
And don't you find it interesting too that the one of the terms for the people wanting to rule the world, the Klaus Schwabs and all that, are called globalists? And
Globalists, no doubt.
yeah, isn't that
Everything,
interesting?
everything.
It's like, oh my God. Well, Flat Earth Dave, you're fun to talk to. Thanks for coming on the show. And you stay out of trouble now. All right. Stay under the
Flat
radar.
flatearthdave.com. Check out my app.
Yeah,
If you have a
I'll show
show
you.
and you want to book me, there's a book Flat Earth Dave there. Send me your info, send me your show, and we'll start the discussion. There's also the Flat Earth quiz, crash course on there. Some great movies to watch with the family. And just check out the stuff on the website. And the app, listen, the app is $3 and you get all of the stuff with it. But there's a
$3.
$3
Huh.
and you have it forever. But I've added some stuff that actually costs money. So it's
Okay.
$11 a year. You get the friend finder without the subscription, but you can't send messages. You can't view or fill out a profile, and you can't get the weather app, and you can't get. I have a fun feature called the ping feature. Every time a new flat earther is born, which is somebody downloads the app, your app will go ping, and the globe will explode, and a little flat Earth will appear. So it's kind of fun to see how fast people are waking up.
Yeah, it's almost like It's a Wonderful Life movie, and every time an angel gets his wings, you hear a bell, right?
Yep.
kind of like that. That's beautiful. Well, thanks for being here. And
thanks,
I had
Patrick.
something else, but I didn't. Well, I lost it. All right, Carol, you take care of yourself.
flatearthdave.com. It's a place you can find all my links, all my channels,
always
all
fun
my
having you on the
everything.
show.
All right, man.
Everything,
Thanks.
everything. I'll see you soon, brother. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye bye.
Dave, Flat Earth Dave. He's a trip. Oh man, I just love people that are passionate about what they're doing because it's just cool. It's wow. We're kind of passionate about what we're doing here. We kind of want to try to figure out what the truth is about all things, everything, whether it be politics or geopolitics or wars. Those pesky wars.